Hey guys, welcome back to Hotspot TV, where we bring you the hottest people behind the hottest events. To see what's going on around you, visit us at hotspot.co. I'm Vidal Kachuku, and we're about to get started. Alright guys, welcome back to Hotspot TV again. I'm here with AnnaMarie Rose, bodybuilder in next weekend's National Physique Committee New England Championships. She's going to be competing in the women's figure category, is that correct?
That is correct.
That's fantastic. Alright, so why don't you introduce yourself? Thank you for coming on our program. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a Boston University human physiology student.
Okay.
I am 22 years old from the Chicago area. And
Chi-town,
yeah,
there you go, rep that.
Really was into sports and athletics my whole entire life. I was a big swimmer actually for a while, and then I played lacrosse.
Okay.
Blew out my knee, so my sports kind of went down the drain. After that, I kind of moved to land
Okay.
and started playing around with a lot of high interval training, quick jumping, climbing, everything you could think of in between before I started to change my training around to bodybuilding.
Okay. So that's first of all very impressive. I'll ask you a little bit about your sports history, but
Sure.
at the beginning when I was introducing, I was actually struggling or resisting the temptation to say you're a female bodybuilder because I mean whether you think about like female rapper or male model or these kinds
Right.
of professions where you have to prefix the title with the
Right.
gender, it kind of gives it an asterisk. So can you talk a little bit about is that an issue for you? How do you feel about that? What do you do when people call you a female bodybuilder? How does that go with you?
Well, when people ask me what I do for workouts, and I'll typically say I'm a bodybuilder, but not the kind you're thinking of.
Okay.
And I hate to have to say that, but the stereotype and what people picture when you think of a female bodybuilder is the very, very large, on drugs, just a different type of look that is not feminine and is not natural for women.
Huh.
And in no way, shape, or form do I not like that. I really appreciate that work, but that's not the physique I'm going for.
Okay.
So when I say I'm a bodybuilder, I say it because I don't just work out.
Yeah.
I don't just go to the gym.
Got it.
And I'm not a fitness model. I don't work for magazine covers. So I think it's kind of hard trying to describe to people the work you put in as a female, because with the male gender, saying a bodybuilder, you think, oh, they train every day, they eat lots, they drink a lot of water, walk around in their big sweatshirts. But what's a female bodybuilder to people? And that might be that really out there, outdated kind of look for fitness. And the fitness industry has really evolved, and women are starting to jump on the train of the fit life. And but there's a lot of different meanings, and there's a lot of different ways and levels you can take it to your preference, I guess.
Huh. That's very interesting. So I didn't even realize that there was a distinction between like the larger, sort of bulkier bodybuilding style and then what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you even get, and I'll ask you a little bit more about diving into that and sort of perceptions and things like that, but what made you say after the sports that you said you were involved in that, all right, bodybuilding is what I want to do?
Well, when I first got to school, we had a fitness and bodybuilding club. I went to a meeting. They were having a seminar with some pro bodybuilders and Olympic lifters, and I went there are some pretty big names there teaching us how to do basic, old school, classic lifts. I thought it was pretty new for me to do 8 reps with a lot of weight when I was used to doing lots of CrossFit type style movements.
Okay.
So I kind of wasn't buying into it as quick. Thinking back on it now, it's kind of funny because the big names that were there are now the names I look up to in the industry.
Yeah.
I had no idea, but I started to get into the bodybuilding. I thought about competing. Jose Raymond, who is a Boston native, he is an IFBB Pro and
wow.
Mr. Olympia competitor. This
Oh,
next
man.
weekend he'll be competing in the Phoenix Pro.
Wow.
Really big inspiration. He's about 5'3", 5'4", and a giant. He calls himself the bearded lady.
The bearded lady.
Yes, they say that people want to see the freaks of the circus, not the normal people, and he brings it to that level. But that's just, you know, that's the industry. So he put it in my head, why don't you get up on stage and compete? And I thought nothing of it. I went to Germany to study abroad. I met a very big bodybuilder guy named Marcel. He became my best friend and my training partner, and he taught me a new style, which was bodybuilding. The first time we trained together, people laughed because he was huge, and I was like his tiny little sidekick. He said, we're going to spend an hour on triceps.
Triceps.
And I said, no, I will not spend 1 hour on a body part.
No.
But I really learned that bodybuilding is an art, and it's sculpting, and it is the willingness to work on the intricacies of the body, which a lot of people don't want to put time into their rear delt or the interior pec or whatever you want to call it, and really work out the details, but that's our type of artwork. So
I think you put it perfectly, and for instance, I was telling you earlier that I just finished watching Pumping Iron on Netflix, and that's sort of, for those of you who haven't watched it, it's basically a documentary of the 1975 Mr. Olympia competition, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is the star. And you are absolutely right, it is an art. And I think that sometimes when people see bodybuilders, they're like, all these people are vain, they're obsessed, they're always flexing, look in the mirror and stuff like that. So talk a little bit more about the fact that or let me know, I guess, how much of an art it is, and not so much about being self-obsessed, because I'm sure you guys get that perception.
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes will run hand in hand.
Okay.
It is a very individual sport because 99% of the population does not live like you. So you can be social and go to things, even eat out sometimes with your friends, but no one, or not most people, understand the pain and dedication you put into every single set in the gym. This is not just an hour and a half for you. This is an hour and a half of work towards your sculpture. I think the difference between the art and Pumping Iron, it was a much more aesthetic physique back in that time, the Arnold time. People still look up to Arnold's physique. Nowadays it is a little bit more about the mass monsters and the freakazoids and the giant vascular. Everything always has to have a next level. And you see it the same thing in the NFL, the MLB, the NHL. So a lot of people like to pick on bodybuilding because you say they're self-absorbed. We don't have a rest of the team. It's just us. So it's easy to pick on that one person. But it's just a way to take the sport to the next level, and everything evolves in a different way. For women, women's bodybuilding is starting to die because it's not as popular of a look for the public, what they want to see as much. And a new class called the bikini class is getting really popular, and that's a more feminine look, and it's a way for people to compete without years and years and years and years of training. I've done bikini. It does take a lot of hard work, but figure, physique, and bodybuilding take a very long time for muscle maturity, and it's just a different type of look.
And it must be particularly difficult for women because you guys put on muscle much more. It takes a lot more time than it does.
A lot more time. You don't realize it until you're trying to put muscle on. We complain about losing weight a lot, but when you try to put muscle on, it's very difficult because you end up putting on fat at the same time. You know, we think guys have it a little bit easier, but I definitely see it from the guy's perspective now that I've tried to build muscle, how hard it is, and frustrating at times where you just want to be bigger, be stronger. So I feel for you guys, even though you lose weight a little bit quicker than I do.
And this must work out perfectly, you studying physiology. You just kind of like think about what you're learning in class and how it's applied in the gym and all that stuff.
I definitely like to use a combination. I take what I learned from school, I take some classic Arnold time philosophies and some things from, they call them bro scientists.
Bro science, bro science.
But definitely I think it's easy in this industry to get caught up in one way of training, one way of eating. This person says this, so this is how I should be doing it. This is how I should look. This is how many calories I should be eating, protein, etc. You have to take all these different things and combine them and figure out what's right for you, because my eating plan, my training plan could be completely different from someone else's, another woman's.
Exactly.
And it has to do with genetics, and it has to do with your stress levels, what you're doing for work and school, etc. So.
Exactly. So can you talk a little bit, you alluded to this earlier, but when we were talking off camera, but in terms of taking it to that next level, sometimes what people will do or assume that they have to do is take steroids or performance enhancing supplements or whatever to get a little bigger. And some people will argue that you just cannot be that big without doing that. So can you talk a little bit about what the drug culture is like when it comes to that? Is the league permissive of it? Are they very, very kind of, do they prohibit it? Or is it just kind of something that if you kind of like live and let live, if people want to do it, cool. If not, you kind of just do it naturally.
Personally, I think people should do what they want to do as long as they're making healthy choices. Unfortunately, with something illegal like that, it is hard to get a lot of checkups for fear of getting in trouble or something like that. But yes, there is definitely a point where females cannot develop that much further than what they are naturally without enhancing drugs. Like I said before, that's just a different style of physique, and it comes with the side effects, it comes with the consequences, and there's positive and negative consequences. You know, some of the women who do dedicate themselves to bodybuilding, who have been doing this for years, the Miss Olympia, I respect her for, you know, putting aside maybe dreams of other things for bodybuilding. I mean, it's respectable. There are different types of leagues. There are leagues that do test. There are leagues that test in different ways than others for certain types of drugs. And there's leagues that all leagues will test. A matter of how often they test differs.
So it's kind of being aware of the kind of details and how you can or cannot manipulate the system if that's what you want to do. So
if they tested at every high elite sport, who are people going to watch? You know, and that is the reality of it, and it's hard to swallow sometimes for some people to think about their idols not being natural athletes. But I think it is important to understand that that is what it takes sometimes to get to that elite level. And it's all a personal choice if you want to take them to get that edge, but I really think you have to keep your life in perspective and understand not only what's going to happen when you take those drugs, but what's going to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years, mentally, physically, and emotionally, because they affect everything.
That's cool. You answered that very well. you can't say too much, you can't say too little. All right, I think you did a great job. So talk a little bit about your diet and exactly what is your routine, your regimen, how many calories you have to eat, do you count? Do you have little measuring cups for all your food? What is your life like trying to get to this goal?
Well, if you want to compete with the best, you have to do just as much work or more work than they are. So you have to assume that they are measuring their food, keeping track of their food, keeping a diary, just being conscious of what they eat, obviously. Sometimes guys can get away with eating a little bit more. I personally cannot. So in my off season, which is my season where I really used to put a little more food into my body, train very, very hard, and not as much cardio as I do right now, I think that's really important to keep track of, because I can get a baseline. If I'm holding a certain weight for a couple months, eating this many calories, protein, fats, or these types of carbohydrates, or these types of proteins, then I can kind of get a baseline of how I can transition into dieting for a show, so I don't have to hardcore diet for 4 weeks and freak out and think, oh no, I'm not going to lose the weight. So setting yourself up, I was already thinking about this show in November of last year. I mean, this is what I train for every day I go into the gym. It's with this in mind. I love the lifestyle, but it is really, really cool to have a goal.
Yeah.
So, as you can probably tell from me saying that, you're probably overwhelmed to hear that everything, I do track most things. For my sanity, I'll let some things go. But knowing the differences of how different foods work for your body is really important. And those are the steps people are not willing to take. To get that edge to the top, and that is what we have to do to be at that elite level of bodybuilding, is knowing what works for your specific body and playing around with things and sustaining that. If you change your diet for 3 days, your body won't adapt in 3 days. So you have to do this consistently, 2 to 3 weeks.
That's true.
It's stressing me out thinking about it. I do it and it stresses me out. So it's a level of science and patience and courage and expertise that I can't really compare it to anything else, because this is a 24-hour-a-day sport.
It's nuts. It's like any other really, really high-level skill or art, as you put it earlier. And I think that, first of all, I commend how much discipline you have to be able to do it, and just to think that is something that's constantly on your mind. Because like, I was hanging out with friends last night and was eating pita chips and stuff like that, and like, I try and be as strict as I can about my diet and things like that, but it's little things like that where if this is your job, you're like, no, I can't have a little extra thing. So what would you say is your goal? Is this something that you do? I mean, you certainly take it very seriously. Do you want to compete at the very, very professional level, at the highest level, or is it something you just kind of want to excel at, but maybe not necessarily make your full career?
I really want to excel at it. With my major, I want to be a physician assistant eventually. This is a side gig and a hobby, and it kills me to say that because it feels like so much more. It feels like a full-time job. But it really, the principles that I learned through it really seep through my life. Being able to push through the end of a workout, I honestly think that sometimes I can push through the ends of assignments or things I have due with that same amount of energy. So I'm going to keep going as long as it really interests me, and it gives me a balance of that athletic edge, self-discipline, pushing yourself, and meeting new people in the industry, people who live like you do. It's really fun to go to the shows because everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone has the same Tupperware with the same food, and everyone has a big Reese's bar and Snickers bar for after. So you can all share that. So I'm kind of rolling with the punches on this one, and if I were to get to that elite level, that would be fantastic, but it does have to work into my life, because my life is here and competing is out here, and it's really hard because it sometimes does hop back and forth. So
got it. So one thing I want to do before I take up too much of your time is, my college roommate and one of my very good friends and I, we would go to the gym together, and we would sometimes see women doing exercises. They're like, "What are you trying to do? If you're trying to get that ass, like, that's not really the exercise. You're not doing it the right way." So I'm sure you may go through some similar things. So I want to give you a couple minutes to vent and say to the message to all the women out there.
Public service announcement.
What should you be doing, and what should you not be doing to get the body that you want?
Biggest misconception, I think. What is the booty? What are the glutes? It's a huge, huge muscle. Multiple muscles. You know? So how do we build muscle? The same way you would build your biceps or your shoulders. You lift weights. You lift weights to sculpt it and shape it. The treadmill and the elliptical will only do so much. The Stairmaster will do a little bit more. Suspending yourself by your arms and just floating on your legs won't get you anywhere. There are a lot of great exercises for glutes. I dedicate a whole entire day to glutes and hamstrings. Yeah, everyone should, even men should, because it's just a very large group of muscles, and those workouts are pretty intense, so they'll give you a great sweat and you'll come away feeling fantastic. But a lot of times the squat is the holy grail of butt exercises. Squats are super effective. Air squats, front squats, back squats. But thinking outside the box is definitely the way you're going to get some kind of booty that people are not ready to see. There's a lot of weighted cable work you can do. You can tie an ankle strap and kick backwards, sideways. You can do lots of deadlifts, straight leg deadlifts. And good mornings, and a lot of times I tell women if they want to learn a good glute, hamstring, leg workout to go to YouTube and search men's bodybuilding hamstring and glute workout or hamstring and quad workout, because it's using heavier weights, and heavier is not going to turn you masculine.
Say that again.
Lifting heavy will not turn you into a guy. It is just impossible. We don't have the hormones to turn us into men.
Yeah.
I would like some shoulders that maybe look like a guy's shoulders, but I can't get them because my hormones don't let me.
Yeah.
So you can, I think the difference between looking okay and feeling okay about yourself and really feeling like $1,000,000 is pushing it to the limit and trying that upper weight and failing at that rep. That's where you see a difference in your attitude, your body, and the way you live out everything else in your life, is that little bit of intensity at the end. I think a lot of time women's exercises are fluffed up. There's little butterflies on the sides of magazine pages. Do 100,000 of these back kicks and your butt will maybe change shape to less flat. But it's not fair. It's not fair. There are so many different ways that we can be more effective and feel more powerful as women through weight training. Not to mention it's great for every other health aspect. There are no negative side effects to weight training.
I'm right with you.
So,
what's your favorite exercise?
I love deadlifts.
Yeah?
I love picking up a big bunch of weight from the ground, using my back, using my legs, feeling like as soon as you get to the top, you did it.
Yeah. They tear you down. That's a good
they
exercise.
do tear you down.
All right. So ladies, throw in some good leg exercises, deadlifts if you want. What she's got. Can you flex a little bit for us? Can you do something?
I can flex a little bit. I can do a front double bi.
Ooh. Ooh. Very, very nice. All right. Well, thank you so much again, AnnaMarie Reinhofer. She's going to be in next weekend's NPC New England Championships in the women's figure competition show. Be sure to check her out and get information in the link below from Hotspot. Thanks so much again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time, all right? Bye.